Okay, so like I said, so this event is about general application tips where we are going to talk about how your application can stand out and about the whole, graduate school. So, um, first of all, we are looking at, the first thing I want to say first is that a lot of people and a lot of professors out there on various platforms, LinkedIn, um, Twitter, which is known as X now, um, and so many other platforms out there have written a lot of things regarding graduate school application. All you have to do is to search on Google. So most times the information you're looking out for is one Google search away. So the only thing that I am doing right now is to more of concentrate in, giving you some information, um, but I may not actually go into details the way you probably would think I should. So because of time and for me to be able to cover up a lot of things that I have to. So so this event, what I'm going to do is to uh talk with you about general application tips. So now the first question that I know most people, if you tell people, okay, I want to apply for graduate school, I want to study abroad, or I want to further my studies, the question is, how do you even know you really want to go to graduate school? So one thing I would like to say is that if you don't even know what you really want to do, especially if you are an early, career person, such as, you just finished the university, there's nothing wrong with you taking a gap year, especially if you do feel that you don't really have what it takes to have a strong application. So it's okay to take a gap year. So, but if you are someone who really, you know, have had experiences, then and you think you really know why you want to go to graduate school, then it is still very, very fine. But why I said this is for you to know that it's okay if you're not yet ready. You could take some gap and prepare yourself. That is why some people could stay, could work, do research for a couple of years before they even decide to further their studies. So the next question is, when should I start applying? Now, this is a thing of different places. When should you start applying? Different countries, different regions, different schools have, you know, different timelines. So today I'm going to make a case scenario of Taiwan. The reason being that I had uh you received a request to record to the call. All right. Okay, so different regions actually have different, timeline. So, for instance, if you are somebody who is interested in applying to Asian schools, even in schools in Asia, and different Asian countries have different timelines. For instance, most applications that are currently ongoing for a place like Taiwan is for spring, those that want to enter spring, which is around February, March next year. Those applications are currently going on right now. But if you want to apply for fall, fall is for those that want to resume by August, September next year. Those applications will open up, most of them will open up ending of this month and next month. Some of them open up in November, some of them open up in December, some of them in January. But I don't think anyone opens in February. Now, this is a case scenario for Taiwan. Now, for that of United States and so many North American universities, you discover that applications are usually the timeline for I'm being distracted by this pop-up. Okay, so now the timeline for applications for North America, you discover that if you really want to get admission by, because their fall begins in August, late August, early September. Then most of the applications will kick off around, let's say that's for the next year. So most of the applications kick off around August itself. So you want to apply for admission into the United States and you're targeting to get admitted next year. That means you have to start a year before. But that doesn't mean that your deadline is a year before. The deadline is usually by that same year, ending of that year. Most at times, December 1st. Now, you have to keep this in place. So, likewise, other places. So, I can only tell you the places that I've had experiences. So, for that of Australia, because I also made an application to Australia some years back. So for that of Australia, the way they work, Australia is usually different because the way they work is that they have timeline for both domestic students and timeline for international students. So there are times that you as an international student would have to apply. So you have to note those periods, and it is only within that timeline that you as an international student can apply that makes you eligible to apply for the scholarships. So if you don't apply within that same time frame, it's a problem. So that's a case of how when should I start applying. So in summary, start early. Applying takes a long time, and it takes a lot of effort. I, as a person, I would say that you will start a year before your prospective admission and try to begin narrowing down the list of the schools you want to apply to and making the list of the professors or the principal investigators that you're really interested in working with. So now, when you have been able to figure this out, first of all, remember the narrow down. You have to get the location you want to actually apply to. Now, assuming that I'm in Nigeria and I'm interested in applying to the United States. Now, first of all, what do? I have to look for the schools in the United States that I want to apply to. How many of them? What is going to guide my application to those schools is going to be, can I find the kind of research I want to do in these schools? If yes, then that's number one, I tick. Secondly, are there professors there? Not one, not two, not three. Are there more than 2 to 3 professors there that does the things that I'm interested in? Now, I'm going to give you a reason, and that is going to be with my experience. Now, here at the University of Michigan, as a computational chemist, there are rare professors who do it. Now, it will be to advantage if you have a lot of people who are into your field in a particular school. But assuming that there are not much people who can do the things that you do or that you're interested in, you might run into the challenge of not getting a professor that would want to supervise you. So that is why I encourage, with my personal experience, I encourage that if you are making any application, make sure that the university you're applying to have more than at least 2 to 3 professors that does the kind of things you're interested in. So that is one thing. So this will also help you to know the kind of schools you're applying to. Now, when you have figured that out, figured out the country you want to go, figured out the school you want to apply to, then figured out the kind of person you really want to work with, then remember, this is me saying it is proper for you to start very early. So imagine you have figured out all these things. Let's say for someone who just started today, by the end of this month, you have done your assignment and figured out, okay, I want to apply to this school in the US, I want to apply to this school in Canada, I want to apply to this school in Australia, I want to apply to this school in Taiwan, I want to apply to this school in China. When you have figured out all these things, listed them down, it will guide you in your writing your statement, which I am going to speak at which I'm still going to speak during the course of this event. So I want you to also keep in mind, which I had mentioned. I think I mentioned something about that of Australia having a timeline to which if you apply, you can be eligible to be considered for the scholarship. Likewise, also here in the United States, the 1st of December deadline is usually the deadline to consider applicants for scholarship and fellowships. So some schools will tell you that they have priority deadline. So, and they still have another deadline. So if that priority deadline, for anybody who submits application before the priority deadline, you'll be considered for a scholarship or a fellowship program. But if you submit your application after the priority deadline, forget it. Even if you get admitted, there's not going to be funding for you. So that is when should I start applying? I think I've been able to answer that. So what kind of programs and schools should I apply to? Frankly speaking, this is a very hard question to answer because it depends on your interests. The only biggest difference that I know between programs that are similar is the coursework that you are going to take and probably the kind of peers that you might have to work with. What do I mean? For instance, now somebody might say, oh, I studied pharmacy, but I want to do my PhD or master's in chemistry. Now, for the fact that you have that science background, you are eligible to apply for both chemistry, going to directly into chemistry department, or maybe going into medicinal chemistry, which is usually in pharmacy. Now, it also depends on schools. You could see schools that will place medicinal chemistry programs in the department of chemistry itself. Or you could even see some of them that will place it in the department of, they call it LSI, Literature, Science, and LSA, Literature, Science, and Arts. Now, at the end of the day, what matters is your research interests. And that is why it is very important that you do a very thorough research to find out what program that you're most interested in. Now, for somebody who is in first year pure chemistry, and for someone who is in medicinal chemistry, I'm using the one I have for the knowledge I have, for instance, as these examples. So for someone applying for pure chemistry and for someone applying to medicinal chemistry, their coursework in first year is going to be different. You don't expect it to be the same thing. So it is also important that when you are making this searching, look at the courseworks. Are they things that you really want to do? For somebody that, let's say, you've never had the background of advanced mathematics, and you now apply to an institution whereby in your first day you would need to do some advanced mathematics, you have to prepare yourself now. So it is very important that you do what? It is very important that you look at the programs, the program courseworks. That is if it is important to you. So, but I want you to know that the most defining environment for your PhD is your what? Is the professor you're going to work with. Because this coursework we are talking about now, after 1 or 2 years, what? Is over. The most important thing is which professor are you working with? Because that professor is somebody that is going to make your stay either beautiful or sad. And that is why it is very, very important that you take your time. So I'll continue. If you have any question, please don't forget to, you can write it down or you can raise your hand and ask. I mean, I think there's a platform to raise hand. So, or you could still wait at the end of the event. I'll take take a lot of questions. So another thing again is, how many schools should I apply to? So now this will depend on the number of places you are really interested in, and also your flexibility. So with my experience so far, I would say that it is important for you to apply to schools that have at least, like I had mentioned earlier, 2 to 3 professors that you're interested in working with. So this is very important so that you have alternative options in case the lab you were actually interested in does not end up working for you. So there are some programs now. I don't know about other places, but here in the United States, they organize what is known as rotations. If you get admission, now I want to say this as a sideline. I know when I continue to talk about PhD, some people might exempt themselves. If you have a bachelor's degree from Nigeria and you are actually interested in PhD, because not everybody is interested in PhD, and that is okay. If you have a bachelor's degree from Nigeria and to some extent you did well, even if you did not do well, there are still options for you. But assuming you did well, second class upper and above, you are very much qualified to apply for a PhD in the United States with your bachelor's degree. You don't need a master's degree. I'll repeat myself. If you have a bachelor's degree and you did well in your undergraduate, you have at least second class upper and above, and you really know what you want to do, because it's one thing again, I know people who are first class that don't even know what they want to do with it. You can apply directly for a PhD in the United States. So that is why I keep talking about PhD, because I know that people with bachelor's degree can also get PhD in the United States. So in order to talk about the question, how many schools should I apply to? So now I'm narrowing it down to, it depends on the places that have the number of people that does your kind of research. And so I was talking about rotation. Now in the United States, if you get admission in the United States, depending on the school also, some schools organize what is known as rotations. What does it mean? Immediately you come in, you start moving from one lab to another, the lab that interests you. So you can move, let's say for instance, for me, when I got admission, I started my rotation at the end of August. I did 6 weeks rotation in one lab. That's ending of August, September. Then October, I moved into another lab. Then December, I think October, November. I did October, November. December, I moved into another lab. So are you seeing it? So now after this rotation, you can now decide, okay, I've had experience with these labs. I know this professor, I know the other PhD students, the postdoc, people who work in this lab. This is the kind of lab I want to work in. Then you now decide to do what? To go to that lab. So now, to answer that question, how many schools should I apply to? Remember, I told you it depends on what? The places that have the kind of people you want to work with. But for me, I would personally suggest that you apply between 6 to 10 schools, enough to give you what? Options. So now these 6 to 10 schools must not be in the same location. When I was applying for PhD after my master's, I won't lie to you, I applied to 12 universities all over the world. I applied to Australia, I applied to the United States, I applied to Canada. I don't like Europe. Is not a thing for me. It has never been a thing for me anyway. So because number one, they really do not give funding. In fact, the news I was reading this morning is even worse now. For you to now go and study in Europe, you have to have 50 to 60 million naira in your account. That is not the amount you have paid for your tuition. is the amount that will remain in your account as somebody who wants to study in Europe. 50 to 60 million naira. How can a poor person get that? So it's getting worse. But that's by the way. For me, I've never been interested in Europe. So, but I still applied to the University of what? What's that university in? Oh my God, forgotten. If I remember, I'll mention. But I applied to one university. So now, out of all these places, like I said, I applied to 12 universities, and out of all the universities, I got the admission I applied to, the school I applied to in Australia, University of Queensland. I was admitted to about 4 universities in the United States. Then that other university in Europe, why am I forgetting this? It's not Southampton. It's I don't know. My God. There's a VC that attended that school. He was even the one that made me Bartholomew Okolo. He's a former VC of University of Nigeria. It was when I saw his profile that I decided to apply to that school, but I've forgotten. So now the school also they were offering me admission, but what did they now say? That I have to come with my own word, scholarship or funding. So that's how it is. Most Europe schools does that. So why I did not apply to Canada was that there was a strict rule that you have to have a professor before you can apply to Canada. And I tried to reach out to many professors and they did not respond to my email. Now, the same thing is applicable to what? To Australia. For you to get admission in Australia for graduate school, especially if you want to be considered for a scholarship, you have to get what? A professor that would accept you. Now, I'm still going to discuss in general, but let me say this now that I remember it, because it is out of experience. Now, in Australia, you can apply to schools without English proficiency tests. But for you to be able to do your visa, even if you have been admitted, you must write IELTS. When I say must, I mean must with a star. That is Australia. So you can apply to the school and you say, hey, they waived English proficiency for me. Yes. But for you to go for a visa interview, you must write IELTS and have 6-point band and above. Then, in the United States, in fact, one thing I want to tell you now. I'm still going to discuss these things in further, but if it comes to my mind, I'll just say it. After all, it's just a platform for us to, get tips. I want you to know that I have never written GRE. I have never written English proficiency test. I don't even know how it looks like. Both when I went to Taiwan to do my master's degree and all these places that I told you that I had applied to and gotten admissions in, no English proficiency test, no GRE, no form of test. So I think I've been able to. So in a sense, another thing again is those places that there are places you have to apply and you have to pay application fee. So now for somebody who wants to apply to 12 schools and maybe there are places that so many of the places that are accepting what will you now do? We'll talk about that in the next session. So I know that applying is so expensive. So how do I get application fee waiver? So I know that applying to schools is incredibly expensive. For example, my University of Michigan, charges for each application you make $90. So assuming you're applying to 10 schools, multiply an estimate 90 times 10 schools. That's almost $1,000. I mean, where did you keep that kind of money? So I understand. So one known fact that I want you to be aware of is that most schools have application fee waiver. Some of these fee waiver application will also require you to do what? Attach a proof of financial limitation. But some other ones would not also require you to do that, but they will just want you to write a short paragraph or two about why you really want to apply to the school and you need a waiver. What are we trying to talk about? Not all the schools would tell you that you must pay application fee. There are even schools that what they want you to do is to just attend an event that they have. And during that event, they will give what is known as waiver code. And with that waiver code, you can apply. So that's how many universities do you think are available, assuming for somebody who is interested in applying to universities in the US alone? I want to ask you, how many universities do you think are currently in the United States, both private and public? There are more than 900. So I don't know if I'm overestimating, but I know there are so many. So if school A tells you that you have to pay application fee, it's a must that you have to pay application fee, and you do not have that money, I am very sure that there are schools B, C, and D that you can apply to. The problem that we have is that we are too lazy to do that thorough research. And even if there are schools that say that it is a must that you have to apply, there are still some schools that will pay application fee. There are still some schools that will tell you, okay, if you think you have financial difficulties, give us a proof. Most of the schools I applied to in the United States, including this Michigan that I'm in right now, I got an application fee waiver. And how did I get them? I just wrote to them, see, right now, that was when I was still doing my master's in Taiwan, that I'm currently a graduate student at the University of so and so, and I'm on the Taiwan government scholarship. And this stipend is enough only for my survival. They know that now. They will not give you excess money. So that this stipend is only enough for my survival. And if I take from this my stipend and make any application, I'll be left to, survive on a very low amount. And most of them will say, okay, fine, just apply. Now, if they think your application stands a very good, your application package has a very good, stuff, they waive it for you. So I got a lot of waivers. This thing is also applicable to a lot of skill acquisition. I think if you want to use some of these online platform that you want to gain some skills, some of them will ask you to pay, but you can actually submit a petition that you need a waiver to participate in such events. It is still the same thing. So what are we trying to say? It is not, don't let application fee be your limitation. And not just that, there are so many Nigerians these days that are also trying to help. See, if you're not on Twitter and you're on this platform, you're losing. I want you to know that. You are on the loss. Twitter is not just enough for you to enter and be looking at gists. Be watching. Twitter does not have restrictions for things. It's not enough for you to go and be watching videos and looking for the latest gist. Wetin Bobrisky do today? What has happened to VDM? You can, depending on the connections you have on Twitter, you can be getting the latest information on scholarships and even latest information on people who are interested in sponsoring others for what? For their applications. Now, they might not take many people, but what if you get lucky and they help you pay your application fees? So, yeah, that being said, now you know that you can get a waiver and there are ways you can maneuver these things. Also, how about those places that do not take application fee? If you're somebody, okay, you don't have money to apply to the United States because the places you're interested in, they want you to pay application fee. I want you to know that there are places that most of the universities do not collect application fee. Like Taiwan. Most of the universities in Taiwan does not, some say you have to pay, but most of them do not collect application fee. And their application system is usually very easy. I am sure that 50% or 60% of you in this program liberty, mute yourself, please. So I am very sure that 60%, 50 to 60% of you here is attending this program because of the Taiwan, and a lot of people that have been able to show you this year alone, 4 to 5 people got admitted in various schools in Taiwan, and most of them on funding, full funding. And you don't have to stress yourself to apply or pay application fee. You don't have to stress yourself to do English proficiency test. You're already a Nigerian. You don't have to stress yourself to write GRE. So if going to the United States is difficult for you, there are places whose education system is still better than that of Nigeria that you can travel to, and you still get scholarship, and you still be in an environment that supports your growth. Indonesia is there. Very good schools. So I think I'm going out of my this thing. I'll still talk more for that. So the question now is, another question is, should I reach out to the professors before applying? Now, there are always mixed answers to this question. But one thing I've learned is that, from my personal experience, if you have a general or genuine, if you have a really genuine interest in that research that is being done by that professor, there's nothing wrong with you reaching out to that professor. But it depends. In the United States, most universities do not really want you to reach out to professors. I mean, not that they do not want. Please, a disclaimer. Most universities would not hold it against you if you do not reach out to any professor. The only thing is, look at the professor's profile, make sure that it is what they are doing that you're interested in. You don't have to reach out to them. In the universities in the US, but especially if those universities are offering rotations. But if those universities are not offering rotations, even in the United States, then I would say that it is important for you to do what? For you to apply. But if you are applying to universities in Canada, it's a must. You have to reach out and get an approval of a professor. If you are applying to universities in Australia, it's a must that you have to get the approval of a professor. I don't know if you can see it. So it depends on where you really want to go to. So most universities in Asia, some do. For instance, in Japan, some universities will ask you to get approval. In South Korea, some will. In Taiwan, most universities do not. But I still advise people, if you're going for a PhD, if you're going for a master's, don't really bother yourself. But if you're going for a PhD, it is important to try, make an attempt. You have nothing to lose reaching out to a professor, telling them that you have an interest in working with them. Now, I did not say that you cannot reach out to professors in the US, but I want you to know that these professors in the US, especially if that professor is not in the admission committee, it's useless. Let's say in quote, it's useless. Not like it's really, really useless. But it's okay to reach out to a professor. So it's okay. But in the US, most times, the admission committee will be the ones to decide on your admission. Even if you think, oh, I've spoken to this professor and he's really willing to work with me. Except that professor is among the admission committees, I'm sorry, you may not even get an offer. So, is it okay to reach out to PI? Yes. But remember, it's a case-by-case scenario. And by PI, I mean principal investigator. When I use the word PI, it still means principal investigator or the professor you really want to work with. So now, let's go into application components.
Okay, excuse me. Somebody asked where can you find these PIs? So since it's part of what you're discussing now, I think maybe we could address that.
Yeah. So where can you find PIs? Or the professors will always be listed on the website of the university. Like I said, all these things are just one Google search away, depending on the keywords you're using. Do you understand? You can even type, I keep on telling you, it's very easy. For instance, now, you want to find me in the University of Michigan. It's very easy. Once you know my name, assuming you know my name, for instance, you just put my name and you say University of Michigan. It will just show you the link. Then if you don't know my name, then you're looking for professor. You can just go to, let's say, Department of Medicinal Chemistry. Professors in Department of Medicinal Chemistry, University of Michigan. You get the Google search will give you result. Either the first result, the second result, the third result will take you to the department where the professors will be listed. And in each of the professors, you'll be seeing their what? The research interest. You know one thing? I want us to demonstrate this now, so that it does not look like this thing is just a thing of, theory. So I'm going to share my screen. So I believe everyone can see it, right? Can you all see it?
Yes, we can see it. We can see it.
Okay, now I want to search for professors in medicinal chemistry. Sorry. Chemistry department, University of Michigan. So what is the first result you see? Faculty, medicinal chemistry, pharmaceutical chemistry. Now, at least these two results is showing you something similar to what you're looking for. Now, this one has already shown you, when you hear the word faculty, here in the United States, faculty is talking about the professors. It's not talking about the faculty like our own now back in Nigeria. When you say faculty, you're looking at an umbrella. For instance, Faculty of Biological Sciences that will have microbiology, biochemistry, and all that. Or faculty of here, when you say, oh, I want to reach out to my faculty, what it means is that I want to reach out to my professor. It's still the same thing. I want to reach out to my PI. So if I click this faculty now and open it, what did you see? List of faculty members. And some of them, depending on the school, this one now is saying she's accepting students. If you look at her profile and you think you can see the research interest. You look at her profile, you think her email is there. And you think what she's doing is something that you're interested in. You can send her an email. Remember, it's not a must. For my school, you have to do rotation. But you have nothing to lose. You say, professor, I've looked at your profile. I'm interested in applying for PhD 2025. Look at what I've done. I think my research interest aligns with yours. That is it. And you wait. Probably you get an interview, talk with the professor, and if you're lucky enough, if this person now, assuming this person is among the committee members, that admission committee members, you're already on your sure way to being admitted. So now, see the various faculty. Are you seeing it? All of them, all my professors are here. So let it not be like it is only my university. Let us do another search now. Let's say, depending on, remember, first of all, if you know the department. If you don't know the department, you could use the research that you're interested in. Let's say, for instance, now I am somebody who is interested in neuroscience. I can say neuroscience professors in maybe University of Chicago, assuming maybe there's something. I don't know if that's a very good example. So now, are you not seeing it? What's the first result? Faculty, U Chicago Neuroscience Institute. If I open it now, what are you seeing? Are you not seeing faculty? Now, are you not seeing their areas of research? And you want to know more about the person, what do? You click on the profile. And you can read a lot of things about the person and what they are interested in, their publications. And even if they don't have their publications or information, you can even go about, okay, now you already know the name of this person, Iziali Amit. You can check their name on Google Scholar and you can know the kind of research they are doing. Now, that is this. So, is there any other question in line with this one? I doubt. Okay, so we can move on, right? So the next thing that I said I want to, okay, first of all, let me address, I think there were other questions in this thing. Let me address it, then we'll move forward. Can a pharmacy graduate from Nigeria that has interest in material chemistry? Wait, can a pharmacy graduate from Nigeria that has interest in material chemistry? This question is, please, if you're typing, make sure I know
Wait,
some.
I think I had read it. What she meant was, I think she studied pharmacy here, and
Okay.
she's trying to apply to some university. She started with Miami University. They said her coursework is not eligible for material chemistry. So she's scared of applying to other schools.
Okay, you
He or
see
she.
that. Anyway, that's the importance of what, of reaching out or making inquiry. Now, what they are trying to tell you is that you do not have the background to study material chemistry.
Okay,
So,
so hold on. Let me say something. I think this person is trying to say they did it, but the transcript doesn't contain it.
doesn't contain what?
The description, it just has chemistry, but they did courses related to material chemistry.
Anyway, I don't know what this entails, but my point there is this. If, for instance, okay, you have a background in pharmacy and you're trying to apply to materials chemistry, I think it is very, very important that you check the kind of courses that they offer or the courses that you do, because I feel if you're going to go into materials chemistry, you have to have the background. And I don't think somebody who did pharmacy would have the background of material chemistry. It's not possible. You have a more background in medicinal chemistry as a pharmacist than material chemistry. People who did pure chemistry are people who have more background in it. So, but let me read this time. I emailed the Miami University and they said my coursework doesn't meet exactly what I'm trying to say. So the courses you've done as your undergraduate it didn't meet up to the standard. I think because my university doesn't specify the chemistry course in my transcript. Even if they specified it, most of your courses will either be pharmaceutical chemistry or medicinal chemistry. You can never have material chemistry or things that deal with material chemistry in the scope of pharmacy. So I am scared if other schools will be seeing my application as such. Should I go ahead? Well, in order to be safer, it is always very important. These people are not like our people. You can reach out to the graduate program director. Every program has a graduate program director. You can reach out to the graduate program director and say, okay, my background is in, and not just that, even before you reach out to, I am very sure if you go to that program the program explanation, they will say, for instance, now in medicinal chemistry, they will say people who have background in biochemistry, pure chemistry, pharmacy, and all that can apply. Some schools does that. So if the school you're interested in did not say something like that, you can reach out to them and say, oh, I have a background in pharmacy or in pharmaceutical chemistry, but I'm interested in materials chemistry. Do I qualify to apply? There's nothing wrong with doing that. So I think to be on the safer side for this, for Okenwa Samuel, to be on the safer side, please make an inquiry. Reach out to the program director. So I'm going to take, when you are done, can you talk about the processes to apply for bachelor's degree? Okay, no problem. Remind me that. Thank you for, okay, these professors you speak about, where do they come in during your application process? Also, where can you find them? Okay, now, I've shown you how to find them, but where do they come in during your application process? I'm going to say that when I'll be discussing about application materials very soon. For someone that studied pharmacy with interest in medicinal chemistry but did his or her project in clinical pharmacy field, what can that person do in designing his or her academic CV in a manner to fit into? Well, I'm sorry, I have kata. What part of what people don't know is that if you, for instance, for this person now that said you studied pharmacy and you did your project in clinical pharmacy field, have you forgotten that as an undergraduate you were doing practicals in chemistry? All those lab practicals you were doing from your second year to your fourth year, assuming you are in my kind of, because now they are doing PharmD, so I think things have changed. But when I did pharmacy, it was 5 years. So all those practicals you were doing in the lab in chemistry, what do you think they are? They are also experience. So you can put those things in your CV. Now, even the research you did in clinical, you can still put it in your CV, but it also depends on how you narrated your story in your statement of purpose, which I'm going to talk in the next section. So for now, let me continue. So application components. Now, virtually all schools will require, excuse me, virtually all the schools will require GRE, but since 2022, most universities are waiving GRE. Nobody is caring about it anymore. Transcript, CV, letters of recommendation, statement of purpose, or personal statement, or research statement, or diversity or personal history statement, and so many other things. But the core ones that we know is your statement of purpose, your CV, your recommendation letters. So now, and your transcript. So, please, if you are an undergraduate and you are still in school, this is an opportunity for you to know that you still have the opportunity to make sure your grades are top notch, and you can do it and you can make it possible. But if you're out of school and you cannot change your grade, I want you to know that you still have the opportunity to have an experience, or you still have the opportunity to, if GRE is required in the place you're applying to have control over your GRE in order to boost your CV. So now I'm going to talk about transcript and CV, and that was why I had to start with this. So for transcript, You can use, some universities will say unofficial, official. So you can use any of the transcript to apply for, to make your applications. That is why it is important that one of the first things you have to do is to have a copy of your transcript. Or the very important. So it is very, very important that you have a copy of your transcript so that when you're making your applications, you can submit these things. But I also want you to know that submitting your transcript to some universities while applying does not mean that they will not still request it if you are able to get admission. Any transcript that a student has submitted is known as unofficial transcript. So now, how does different countries request for official transcripts? That's why I say it depends on where you are applying to. Now, if you're applying to the United States, you can use the transcript copy that you got from the university, your own copy, and apply. If you eventually get admission, before you graduate, you are expected to do what? Is it before you graduate or before you get to a certain stage? You'll be expected to apply to your school so that your school can send your transcript direct to the school. Now, not all schools, even in the United States, does it. Some schools will tell you, you can use an unofficial, but you have to send a West evaluated transcript to us if you're given admission. Now, most times it is smaller schools that usually use all this West evaluation. Big schools have money. They have all it takes to vet the documents. They have the staff. They have everything. So then some places like universities in Asia, like Taiwan, what they will tell you to do, what Taiwan will tell you to do is this. You have to get it vetted, all your documents, you get it vetted by the Ministry of Education and the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Nigeria. Unfortunately, it is only done in Abuja. No other branch of ministries of this thing does it. Just for some people, for you to hear me now, because people have made that mistake. And it is important that you do it yourself. Don't say, I gave it to my friend to help me and do. Because that your friend that you gave to help you and do could reach to the gate and somebody will approach, I can help you do this thing. They will go and put fake stamp for you. Now, it is important for you to do it yourself in Abuja. Then when you have done this, when they have done authentication for you at both ministries, you will now take it to the Taiwan office. That is when you must have gotten admission. Then you now take it to the Taiwan office to do what? For authentication. So that Taiwan office in the country will now say, okay, this person's certificate is the correct certificate. So when you are now going to Taiwan, you carry that authenticated document to them. Are you seeing how different places does theirs? Now, for Australia, the reason why Australia does not allow most people to make their direct application, but rather for you to use an agent, is for the same sake of authentication. Most Australian universities use agents. Unfortunately, the agents in Nigeria will want to rip us off. But these agents are being paid by the schools in Australia. When I was in Taiwan, when I made my application to University of Queensland, not even one kobo was charged. Because these agents are already being paid. All they needed to do was to vet my certificate and transcripts. So, I've given you an instance on how different places does vet or authenticate their transcripts or documents. So, so for your CV, Let me for CV, I think recently I was talking about if you want to apply for, if you want to do your CV, there is this platform. There's this platform. What was that platform again that I had mentioned few days back? In case you're looking for a format to, in case you're looking for a format for you to be able to organize your CV and you don't know how else to go about it, what I would advise you to do is that you could go with using this format that is provided by there's this format that is provided by Europass. They call it Europass CV. I know it's mostly for maybe people who want to apply to Europe, but there's nothing wrong with having your CV organized, by Europass. I'm going to pen the link. Give you guys the link now. So it is free of charge. You can use that platform to create your CV and have it organized. So at the end of the day, you export it as PDF and you can use it for your and can use it as your document. So I'm going to put it on the chat section. So this is Europass CV format. So now with this, you can create account. You'll be putting information on the different sections provided. You can even create your own section. At the end of the day, you export this as PDF. If you don't know how to use it, it's one Google search away. How can I use Europass to create my CV? You will see so many tutorials on it. So this is for those who might be asking, what format can I have? There's no specific format. The most important thing is to have the things that are going to be supportive of your application on your CV. So also, I think also I would like to direct you guys to this my website. I think publicly I have my CV there, though I had to remove some personal information such as address. You can still use it as a, will I say, you can still use it as a form of maybe template for yourself, or maybe when you see how it is, you can use it as a template for yourself to prepare your own CV. Hold on, I'm just trying to get the link for you. Yeah. Okay. So for those of you, this is my CV. Like I said, I removed some personal information such as my address, my phone number, and a couple of things. So now this is my personal CV on my website. You can view it. If that is the kind of template you want to take, good and fine. Then for the Europass, it's also okay. So I think that is all I'm going to say about the CV. And remember, your CV has to be, you have to put your CV in a way that shows, for instance, you cannot be looking for admission which has to do with an academic opportunity, and your CV is tailoring someone who wants a job in a hospital. So try to put the information that are very, very important for your admission and remove the ones that are not necessarily important. So I'll proceed. Okay, so now I've talked about CV. The next thing I want to talk about is recommendation letter. For me, I honestly believe that recommendation letter are like, if they are even more important than your SOP. So now it is important that when you are applying for this, for those of you that are still undergraduates, please have professors or faculty members that you can get close by to, that will know your capacity and be able to give you a good recommendation letter. It is very important. No matter what you write in your SOP, if there's nobody to be able to say, to vet this thing, yes, while this person was an undergraduate, I witnessed this person as a very hardworking student. It is a problem. And now when we talk about recommendation letter, we're not talking about recommendation letter that will just have to do with one line. Some people do that. So don't allow people who are nonchalant to write a recommendation letter for you. Instead of having somebody that will write a very lackadaisical recommendation letter for you, don't even give to the person at all. So that is why it is important to start early, because some of these people you are reaching out to, they also have these things they are doing. So when you start early, you tell, oh, I'm interested in applying for next year's application. Please, I want you to give me a recommendation letter. I can send you my CV in case you have been out of school for a while and you have gotten some accomplishment. I can send you my CV to help you with crafting my recommendation letter. Now, that is one. Number two, this is just a side talk. Some professors would want you to put yourself in their shoes and say something about yourself. Like I said, this is a side talk. So they want you to say some things about yourself. If you were to be in my shoe, what would you say about yourself? When you're done, send it to me. Let me look at it. So some people could do that. I mean, if you have that opportunity, then it's better for you. All you have to do is to put down the things you think you actually could say about yourself. Because, I mean, obviously, when you're asked to say things about yourself, you know it's good things. What makes you think you deserve this opportunity? So please, then even if you are out of school, now is the time for you to reach out to those people and say, introduce yourself. From time to time, send them messages. If you're somebody who is working, send them airtime. Things that will make them to be remembering you, so that when you need them, you can reach out to them. Not the one that when you're done with school, you say, for those of you who are currently undergraduate, they'll say, nothing concern me, concern lecturers. So I don't want lecturers to know me. You will know when you will need them. Stop this attitude. You don't want lecturers to know you. I also understand that some people have their reasons. Of course, we are Nigerians. But I am very sure it is not all the professors. There's no way in a particular department that all the professors will be bad. There are people that will still be good. So find them. Must your recommendation letter be written by someone in your field of study? It is better that your recommendation letter is written by somebody who can vet your experience. How can somebody who did psychology be writing a recommendation letter for somebody who studied pharmacy? How does it work? So please, yes. So now, your professors and mentors will have to write a recommendation letter on what they have learned about you, your work ethics, your ability to succeed in graduate school, and what have they observed when you were attending classes, going to labs. Now some questions will be like, just like the other person said, can somebody who is not in your field, somebody will ask, Who should I ask for a recommendation letter? Now, the best case scenario is if you have 3 different professors that could write a recommendation letter for you in your department or more, then that is the best. Then the next best case is, in case you didn't have a chance to maybe work in many labs, then you could reach out to maybe your HOD, the person who was the HOD when you were a student, who is also a professor, your dean. So it is important that you take recommendation letters seriously. Now, some of these academic PI or the professors don't also know how to write this recommendation letter. So sometimes on your own, offer them that option. Please, sir, can I make a draft? It's a draft. That is not what it is. It's just a draft that you can send to them. In that draft, make sure you take every advantage of it. So recommendation letters are very important. Please take it seriously. Take it seriously. So that being said, let's go into the statement of purpose. I call this your science story, not your life story. Your science story. When we get to life story is your personal statement. Now, this thing also is not fixed. Sometimes you have to use ideas on these things. Now, there are schools you will be applying to. They will tell you to submit statement of purpose and personal statement. If you're applying to schools like my university, University of Michigan, they will ask you for both of them. So you have to separate this. You have to separate your science or your research story from your personal story. But if the school just said statement of purpose, then somehow you can incorporate your personal story into your science story. And please, I want to beg of you, stop using when I was a child. When I was a child. You don't know anything when you were a child. It is commonly rampant that these days, people no longer look at all those when I was a child, when I was a child. You could say when you were young, but when you were a child, I don't think it's selling market these days. So, for your SOP, you should describe, very important, your reasons for applying to the proposed program and that school. What are the preparations you have made for that field that you're trying to study? What are your research interests? What are your future career plans? And therefore, what are the other aspects of your background interest that may aid your ability to be admitted by the admissions committee? Now, though it may seem that there's a lot to cover in your SOP, the SOP prompts always boil down to the following. Why do you want a PhD? What previous research experience have you had? What have you done in the past? What has prepared you for this? What do you want to do in your PhD when you finally get the offer? Then, who are you interested in working with at this school? Why is this school particular to you? Sometimes, why is this country particular to you? Somebody asked a question before about these professors you seek, about where do you come in, where do they come in during your application process? It is in your SOP. It is during your SOP that you can say, oh, I have looked at all the professors' profile and I am interested in working with Professor this, Professor this, Professor this, simply because of what? Because of what they do. So, I'm going to, it's something I said I'm going to do for you guys, but yeah, it's something I said I'm going to do for you guys, and that is sharing the SOP that got me admitted to University of Michigan, hoping that someone could find it useful. Now, these people have databases. If you see my SOP, you go and copy it verbatim. In fact, if you go to Twitter, go and see people that were supposed to get admission, but their admission got cancelled simply because they discovered that they copied. Plagiarism is a very big sin here in the United States or anywhere in the academia. So why you look at people's SOP is not for you to copy it, it's for you to get inspiration on how they structured theirs. Everybody has a story. You have your story. I have my story. Now, most importantly, SOP has to do with your, these questions I raised. How have you prepared for this application you're trying to make? For this master's you're trying to make, what have you done? Because you have to have, they say to him who has done something, more will be given. If you have not done anything, then how will you have the opportunity to do more? So, by measure of saying that, I'm going to share my screen again, where we'll go down the lane of my SOP. So, where's the sharing again? Okay, share screen. Okay. I'm very sure you guys can see this, right? Right?
Yes, we can see it.
Okay, so now this was the SOP that fetched me admission here at the University of Michigan. Now yours might be different. Now I said in 2021 I was awarded the Taiwan government scholarship. Look at the way I started. I did not start with a personal story. I didn't say when I was a child or any of those kind of story. So I was awarded the Taiwan government scholarship by the Ministry of Taiwan government, to pursue my master's degree. Now I have a GPA of 4.0 over 4.0. Currently, I am in my second year, and I hold a graduate research assistant position in this professor's lab. Look at my research thesis. What I'm doing right now, it involves the use of computer-aided drug design. Alongside this. I'm working on synthesizing HDAC inhibitors as a novel drug discovery process for the treatment of glioblastoma. At the end of the day, I said, but it took me a long way to get here. I've lost loved ones to diseases. My younger sister died due to severe malaria complications when she was 6 years old, while my grandfather would later die of brain cancer. While these events saddened me, they spurred me to pursue a career to provide solutions to diseases, especially cancers. For this reason, I decided to study pharmacy. Now, as you can see, this is a personal story of mine, but I did not go about talking so much about it. I only laid it as a background to inspire me, for them to know why I decided to do pharmacy in the first place. So then, aside from that, after telling them what inspired me to start studying pharmacy, I went straight into what led me into research. In my fourth year, I was exposed to computational drug design, where modern computational techniques and tools are used in drug discovery process to identify and develop potential leads during a medicinal chemistry class. That gave me a research direction, and I decided to go all into the field of drug discovery by applying for the position of a student research assistant in the department. Now, this student research assistant that I am talking about is the term is only what is there. The only thing I did was in my 4th year, I spoke to Professor Wodo and told her, oh, I want to spend more time with you, Mao. And she said, okay, that I can be coming to chemistry. Now, it is the grammar that you use that will now defend you. No, so that was why I said student research assistant. So now I reached out to Professor Wodo. She accepted me. So my application was approved, and I would go to have multitude of research exposures. Then I started talking about the things I did, de novo ligand design to generate putative inhibitors of enzyme, in silico molecular modeling, virtual screening, blah, blah, blah. Then I went ahead to tell them that, oh, the projects that I did in Professor Wodo's lab, it made me to have computational techniques and skills in computational techniques and tools. I started listing them, blah, blah, blah. Then when Professor Wodo was impressed by what I did, in my final year, she accepted to do what? To supervise my final year research. Only she, Makende, will be able to testify to the fact that I did my project in chemistry. But I'll tell you that I was first because in our final year, something happened. They said they will randomize us. So I was placed in pharmacology department. So, I mean, me that have prepared myself for chemistry all this while, you're placing me in a different department. I disagreed. It was a problem in the department. But eventually they allowed me. So now, I continued working with this same woman. I did my project under her. And that was, so I went on to talk about, so are you seeing the narration? It is about how you tell your story. How you streamline it matters. There has to be a kind of follow-up. Even if you have to have some kind of remembrance, it is important for you to structure it in a very good way. So I went on to talk about the research I was doing, the research I did in my as a project. Then I went on to talk about when I graduated. Most of my colleagues went out to do internship in other places. Frankly speaking, I already know what I want. So I wanted to do internship in the faculty. It took me a long time, but I got the opportunity. And when I was in the faculty, I was doing some other researches. And some of this research led to publications, and I even told them, okay, one of the publications was published in Tropical Journal of Pharmaceutical Research and another one in Journal of Biomolecular Structure and Dynamics. So these are things you could say. So during COVID also, I was still back in Nigeria during COVID. During COVID also, I tried to take up a research on my own. Then when I was in Taiwan, I got involved in a lot of things. I was involved in competition where I won an award, start talking about. So now, I now came and say, okay, fine. My decision to pursue a PhD in medicinal chemistry at the College of Pharmacy was reinforced that when I have looked at the faculty directory, it revealed that the university is at the front line of drug discovery research that brings together the principles and the experimental techniques of chemistry and biology with computational science and houses leading experts and researchers competently trained in almost all the aspects of chemical biology and drug discovery. Because I'm interested in computational chemistry, that was why. I am excited about the program's research strengths as it combines research interests such as an intersection between chemo and bioinformatics, rational drug design, blah, 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 blah. So now that is why I chose that program. You see, I answered that question. Why this program? Then now, I now went ahead to talk about, okay, what about something futuristic? With the increasing cancer research, partly due to this, I would like to, I'm interested in developing what I would like to do if I'm given the opportunity. I'm interested in developing molecules that will inhibit these glycoproteins to enhance cancer drugs and blah. So I now went ahead to say my interest in this drug discovery through this medicinal chemistry goes very well, perfectly well with the research of Professor Charles Brooks. I said, okay, Charles Brooks does this, does this, does this. Are you guys seeing how it is in line with my research experience? I'm also interested in Professor Hita Carlson. What does she do? She does this, she does this, she does this. But I went ahead. I didn't restrict myself to only these two people. I went ahead to tell them that even if I get this admission, that I desire to learn the ability to design and develop biological databases and bioinformatic resources. And these things match closely with what this Professor Lomise is doing. Therefore, I look forward to interacting with the scholars who come from a various multicultural background and maybe eventually joining your notable alumni community when I am done with my studies. Then I went ahead to chip in that, I would like to explore the outdoor that is available within this you people's environment. It is just a chip in. Then I now went ahead to tell them that, that aside from outside my research work and everything, there are other things. I'm mentoring people. I have things that I'm doing. I belong to this association and all. Then at the end of the day, I told them what? In order for me to end this, I really want to tell you people my future plans. When I gather all this research experience and I am equipped, in the long run, I want to have a career in research and become a very good scientist and maybe even a professor. And I want to work in collaboration with maybe pharmaceutical companies in Nigeria, so that I am driven to discover innovative solutions to cancers. Blah, 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 blah. Therefore, I am ready. I am expressing my full readiness for this program. And I seek fresh experience in this interesting journey. So, I am very sure that, and you know the funny thing, it's not a funny thing. One good thing I know is this. When you have written a winning SOP, nobody will tell you. Now, let me show you people what guided me to write this SOP. It was the requirement from medicinal chemistry. It was what they said that we should use, because usually every school will tell you what they are expecting of you. So now let's look for, you can see this is the College of Pharmacy medicinal chemistry program. So if you go to admissions, frequently asked questions, they now said, where is this? Okay, it's not here. Let's check here. Yes, maybe application, minimum requirements. Okay. Yeah, frequently asked questions. They say here, what should I include in the statement of purpose? Now, I want you guys to read it. They said, this is your chance to show the admissions committee who you are. You should talk about your background, your educational, research, and career goals, and how our graduate program will help you realize these goals. Note that this differs from your what? Personal statement. Because they also requested for personal statement. So now, for those talking about recommendation, who should write recommendation letters for me? Strong letters of recommendation are essential. Therefore, you should choose your recommenders carefully. Choose faculty. They say choose faculty who know you well and can speak to your strengths, preferably from your area of research interest. A letter from a professional or a key educational administrator might also be appropriate. When I say key educational administrator, HOD, dean. Letters from personal friends or family members are discouraged. So now this is what because you have to, there's no way you'll be interested in going for a school and you don't want to know what they desire. You can say application fee for international students is $90. Rackham will not process an application without the application fee, nor can the college review applications prior to payment of this fee. The fee is waived for applicants to clinical pharmacy, these who are US citizens or permanent residents. Now, this has changed. So therefore, if you have to apply, you must pay. Though they say some fee waivers are available from Rackham Graduate School. So if you want fee waiver, you go to this place, then you can read more. So this is me just trying to show you guys how. So I did not just go and say, I want to write SOP and start writing blah, 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 blah. No. It was when I read that I started putting things in order, because they needed these things. But you don't have to write it exactly the way they needed it. You have to go with what? A narrative. So I think I've said enough about SOP. Remember, why do you want a PhD? What previous research experience have you had? What do you want to do in your PhD? What are you interested in working with at the school? And why is that particular school interesting to you? So then another thing again is personal statement. Now, for that of the personal statement, we are looking at what? We are no longer looking at your science story. We are now looking at your what? Your life story. So personal statements are usually very short. They just tell you one page, or they will tell you maximum of 500 words. So it's usually very small. So all you needed to do was just to narrate something, to put a narrative. So for me, in my personal statement, I started talking about curiosity, how curiosity led me into wanting to do drug discovery research. You understand? Started narrating. For instance, every one of you here, you know, during Harmattan or during a dry season, if you raise your blanket or something like that, let's say in a dark room, you usually see all those sparks that looks like electricity. Now, one day I was just sitting down when I was preparing for my personal statement. I'm like, but I've been curious about this thing now. And I used to ask myself, why does this happen? Now, I didn't say when I was a child. I said when I was young. Then I also used to say, okay, for those of us who grew up farming, or who grew up in a background where our parents were farming, my dad used to cultivate yam. He still does. Why is it that I discovered that if you carry stick, they call it you carry stick and you put to support the yam tendrils, it's usually the yam will grow to have more bigger distance than if you just leave the leaves to lie on the floor. We all know that the tendril, when we put that stick and put the tendril to grow on it, this is for the leaf to be exposed to more light so that photosynthesis can take place. But this I now know, right? But what if as at back then when I was small, I didn't know about why were we doing it? These things are questions of curiosity. So I said that I've been curious about these things. So instead of me to be curious to just for me to know, I decided to apply it to what? To science, for me to do something. Then I went ahead to talk about how I would like to make sure that some drugs are available to, people who to larger populations who don't usually get it. So that's it. I have my reasons why I don't want to share my personal statement. So yeah. Then going back ahead, let's go back to SOP. Something that I learned recently. Please, please, please. If you're writing SOP, don't just talk about your success. Recently, they want to know, have you faced any challenge? What challenge have you faced during the course of your research, and how did you succeed in solving them? Always devote a paragraph to that. Always devote a paragraph to that. Tell them that maybe that there's this research that you were trying to do. It kept on failing. But you asked your PI, you got references, you did this. It is important for you to show them that you have that perseverance skill. This thing I'm telling you people now, don't you ever forget it. Most universities want you to show when you have been able to persevere. It's not just you saying, I've been successful. Oh, okay. Someone was saying Prof. Okay. Yeah. So, all right. So, John. All right. So, yeah. Thank you very much, John. Okay. So, let's proceed. Now, I've talked about personal statement. I didn't want to go deep into it, but yeah, that is personal statement. So, remember, some schools will not ask you to present personal statement, while some will ask you that you have to. So, if you're writing to schools, if schools are telling you that you have to put SOP and personal statement, try to differentiate both. But if the school is telling you SOP alone, you can come in that way that I came. I still put something personal, but I did not go too far. I just told them it is this thing that inspired me to study this. So let's proceed to another requirement. Some people will tell you to submit what is known as your research statement, depending on the school. Now, this research statement is telling you, is trying to say, for you to detail what you have actually done. So if a school is asking you to submit a research statement, what they want you to do is to detail what you have done. You understand? In those research you have done, how does the research statement differ from SOP? Now, some schools will ask you to write both SOP and research statement as two separate essays. In my opinion, if a school requires a research statement, your SOP will look slightly different than how I have outlined it or told you in the section, or how I've shown you my own. In these cases, you have to create more space for SOP to elaborate about how you became interested in science or how you became interested in the research you're doing. But your research statement will now carry describing the research projects that you have done in the past in detail. So in this your research statement, what kind of thing do you expect? You have to describe your research, and for each significant experience you've had, you have to describe the specific context of the problem you addressed. What was the problem you're trying to address? What method did you use? Then the conclusion you made from the work. So remember, describe your research. If in case they ask you to submit a research statement, you have to describe your research. And for each of these research experience you have to describe the scientific context of the problem you addressed. You have to describe the method you employed and what conclusions did you derive from this work. And also, if you learned anything, if there was a challenge you had, you put it down there. So some people are now also asking for diversity statement or personal history statement. This is just a way for them to care about who you are as a person. It's funny, here in the United States, they usually do the diversity, equity, and inclusion, DEI. So what they are trying to do is to make sure everybody is well represented, the blacks, the Asians, just to avoid the whole shenanigans of racism. It still exists, but no, they don't do it. They don't do it like openly, except maybe some people will still go up, still do it openly. But the essence of this is just to showcase that they want you, or they try to make you feel accepted, that they try to make you feel that they care about you. So some of them will ask you to write a diversity statement. So now, there's a school that that will regard the diversity of its graduate student body very important factor in serving the educational mission of the university. So they want you to share for you to share your personal story or challenging factors on how your background have made you. For instance, some of us being black, for instance, is a limitation sometimes, because we have people who are more interested in science from the white folks than the blacks. So sometimes they want you to come up. Then you, as an African, you can start using poverty as sorry. I mean, I'm sorry for laughing, but that's the reality. You can start using poverty. I come from a country where this, the government does not care. It's part of your diversity statement, So, so what I'll say is, in case you're applying to a place that require diversity statements, I want you to discuss your personal background, and how it informs your decision to pursue a graduate degree. Also, for instance, if you are a first generation student, what do I mean by that? Your parents are not graduates. Your mom, your dad are not graduates. You're the first person to graduate in your family. You're a first generation student. You can use that as your diversity statement. Sorry. How has it influenced you? So your school asked that I submit a quantitative statement. Not sure I'm clear about that. Could you please? I really don't know too. I believe they should have some kind of details on what your quantitative statement should look like. Please look it up. Oh, I don't know. I never came across this. Probably this will have to do with something of public health, right? Maybe. I'm just thinking. So I don't know what quantitative statement is. So yeah, finally, this chat. So when you have done all these things and you have put all your applications, what is next? If you're lucky, you get an interview. I said it. I know it's public health. Probably they will be the ones to request such things. I don't know, but probably read more details into it. You'll figure out what to do. So when you have done all these things, what is the essence of doing all these things? Getting a good recommendation letter, writing a very good SOP, putting out, having a very good CV and all that, is for you to have the opportunity of being called for interview. That is all you're looking for. Because if you do all these things and you're not called for interview, you'll not even know whether what you did was impactful. And there's something I want you to know. If you are ever invited for an interview, even if you end up not getting admission, I want you to know that you stood 90% of being admitted. Probably there were others who stood out better chances than you. So there's how these things work. If you start making applications to graduate school abroad and you start getting some tips, sometimes you get partial scholarship, sometimes you get full scholarship. I mean, partial scholarship. Sometimes they tell you, they start giving you, there's a way to be coming. Before you know it, you're ready for a full scholarship and it's coming soon. So after you have done all these things, you'll get what? If you get an interview, I'm very sure wherever you are, you're going to do better in the interview. So now that you have submitted your application materials, you wait for the good news. Remember, your first goal is to get an interview. So keep that in mind. And when you get invited for interview, congratulations. What it means is that you made it to the next step of the application process. And it might be good news to you that only the top 5 to 10%, depending on the schools of the schools you're applying to, of the applicants get invited. So if you apply and you get invited, I think in my time, I heard 2,000 or more applied to my program, then 100 were invited for an interview. And out of the 100, 20 international students and others. Sorry, how many? Yeah. I think, is it 20 international students or what? Then at the end of the day, we were 19 that was offered admission. So I don't know. It depends on the school. You could always check for percentage of acceptance rates by universities on Google. So yeah. So now I want to rush and go specifically to studying in Taiwan. So if you have any question to ask, you still have the platform to share. And also, I mean, you still have the platform to ask your question, or you can raise your hands and ask your question. So, okay. Coming, I have a very small slide that I have to share with you. So, okay. So, can you see this? Can you guys see this? Can you see this?
Yes, we can.
Okay. So this was what I used sometime, in the past for, I think when I was still in Taiwan, for, studying in Taiwan, a step-by-step procedure. So, I mean, with all these things I've been saying since, we've talked about eligibility, right? So now, all these things I've been saying, generally, let us concentrate it on Taiwan, a place that I understand so much. So now, first of all, what you have to do in Taiwan is that you have to find the university that you're interested in and the program that you're interested in. Now, a key way of finding the university that you're interested in is by going to those. There's a list. There's a list. There are, like, the Taiwan government have been able to publish, bring out a list by they've been able to bring out. Okay, I'm going to share. Maybe let me share the link to you guys also, so you can download it. They always update it every year. So now they've updated that of 2024. So now with this coming, yeah. Okay. Where is the charts? Yeah. So this is the list of all the universities and colleges offering degree programs in English in Taiwan. Now, somebody reached out to me earlier today and said that she got admission but could not be offered a visa because they expected her to write a proficiency showing that she is proficient in Mandarin, in speaking Chinese language. The reason is because she applied to a program that requires her to have the Chinese language. So now, this list now that I posted here, the link that I posted here is a PDF, gives you all the universities in Taiwan that gives you admission for PhD. Now, if you open it, okay, maybe I should kind of share. Maybe I should share. Yeah, I'll stop sharing. Then we'll go back. I want to share these lists. So now you guys can see this, right? This list was updated when 2024, January, February, March 21st. Okay, yeah, 21st of March 2024. Now, what does this list entail? name of university and college, degree programs, program level, PhD, masters, bachelors. Now, for the person asking bachelors, for Taiwan, now if you see anywhere that it is ticked, this circle is ticked, what it means is that for that program, you can apply for either, like now, this person in National Taipei University of Technology, if you're interested in international master program in mechanical and automation engineering, apply for PhD there. But you can apply for masters. You cannot apply for bachelor's degree. But you can apply for international graduate program in College of Mechanical and Electrical Engineering. You can apply for a PhD, but you cannot apply for a master's, and you cannot apply for bachelor's. Now, you scroll down, you see so many universities, all the universities in Taiwan. National Donghao University, you see how you can apply. If you're in chemistry, if you're interested in chemistry, you can apply for both master's and PhD. If you're interested in accounting and information management, you can apply for bachelor's degree in this school. If you are interested in management science and finance, you can apply for bachelor's degree. Now, we scroll down, we go further. National Donghua University, okay, continuous. This is National Taipei Universities of Nursing and Health Sciences. Here, you can apply for International Nursing Master of Sciences and PhD program. You can do both masters, you can do both master's degree, masters and PhD. But if you want to do nurse midwifery master's program, you can only do master's degree. You cannot do PhD. Now, we start going down the list. So many universities. Are you seeing it? How many at the end of the day? Let us be scrolling. How many at the end of the day? Now we have 52 universities that you can apply for graduate programs in Taiwan. Tell me, if most of them do not collect application fee, how will you apply to 10 universities and you will not even get admission to one? I call it impossible. Very much impossible. So all you need to do is use this list. Find each of those schools that offer the programs you're interested in. Tick them. Check, make sure that they are offering the master's program that you're interested in, or the PhD. If they if they're doing PhD, you tick it. If they are doing only masters, you tick it. This university is doing global master program of teaching profession. Maybe this is just for those who did education. You can apply for a master's degree there. So let me look for Taipei Medical, which is the university I studied in. Yeah, so this is Taipei Medical University where I studied, and where we currently have almost the highest population of Nigerians now in Taiwan. So now, if you want to apply for international graduate program in medicine, they do both masters and they do both PhD. If you want to do cell therapy and regenerative medicine, they do a PhD on it. If you want to do dentistry for masters, they do both masters and PhD. Then if you want to do, if you studied pharmacy and you want to do this thing, they do both masters and PhD. Now, and you can apply to more than one program in a school. So the list goes on. My school does not offer bachelor's degree, unfortunately. But I am sure there are other universities that offer bachelor's degree. Like now, you want to do public health. Somebody wants to read public health. I want to start from the beginning. You can do a bachelor's degree at National Cheng Kung University. So this thing is not difficult. Sometimes all it takes is just make the effort. Somebody will come to, usually the group that I have, somebody will come and ask me, which university should I apply? How should I know? It's you now. You're the one that will know the program you have to apply to. You're the one that will know the university you want to apply to. So some of these questions, they keep getting me very annoyed. But now you see, this is the guideline you have. And I can tell you most of these universities, so when you go to their website, let's assume I did not go to let's assume I never went to Kunshan University. So now I copy Kunshan University. I'm going to stop sharing this. Then let me go to Google and I'm going to share my. Then I type Kunshan University. It's a private university. So now Kunshan University, you see, it's the first university that appeared. I click on it. Now, if the things written in it are in Chinese, their website will always have English version at the top. Go to English website. I click go to English website because I'm an international student. What are you looking for? No matter, you just hover around the whole this thing, the whole website. Now I'm seeing admissions information. I've never been to this school. I've never attended. I just want to know what they have. Okay. Now they say what? Except the dissemination promotion. Okay. Now, for 2024 application information for international students, December 1st, 2023 to May 31st, 2024, application will open. June 28th, admission results will be announced. After July 1st, they will mail admission letter. So they will tell you, application information, application form, recommendation letter. Are you seeing the requirements that they are requesting? Autobiography. Autobiography, what does it mean? Just write about yourself. If you thesis proposal for master's program applicants, what kind of work do you intend to do? One photocopy of official bank statement with minimum balance of $6,000 per person. This thing you can just have someone, you can go to bank and you can get a bank statement. This is their requirement. Photocopy of passport, language proficiency certificate. Applicants who are not English native speaking, applying for English taught programs are required to do what? Are required to submit TOEFL. For you as a Nigerian, you don't need to. Scholarship recipient certificate. That's if you got a scholarship, then other documents that will support your application. Now, this is for those who are applying to application period for. So now what it means is that, are you seeing that for fall 2024 means those who are going to start this fall, that's this August or September. So that means for this school now, if you're interested in applying to this school, expect them to open up their portal for 2025 by December, right? So you use that as template. So by December, they will likely open the application for those that they will admit for next year. So this is it. Was it so hard for me to find out this thing? No. Now, scholarship information. What do they have? Now they have Kunshan scholarship application form for current students. Okay, if you're a current student, now they have MOE Taiwan scholarship, so you can apply for MOE in the school. If you want to study only Mandarin, you can apply for Huayu admission to the school and also scholarship. I'm very sure they have more other scholarship if you begin to search. Sorry. So this is just an example that I gave. Some of them will have what is known as prospectus. Okay, or maybe I should just continue, show you something. let's go back to Google. Let's say Taipei Medical, my university. Now I go to Taipei Medical. The good thing about Taipei Medical is they already have an English website. So you can, if the one you went to is Chinese, here now they'll tell you English, but it's purely English website. So now you scroll. You go to admissions. Usually this is what you should be looking out for once you see admissions or something. So undergraduates, graduates, my school does not offer undergraduate to international students. So you go to graduate. Spring 2025 graduate admission now open. So it started from July 1st. It will end in August 30th. Most times I don't tell people to apply for spring. It is usually very difficult. You understand? So I usually tell people to apply for fall. Fall, you're more relaxed in your application. But for spring is not. I have somebody that I mentored that got spring and he could not make it because of timeline. So, but although he's currently in Taiwan, he still later got admission. But I advise people not to apply for spring, except there's nothing wrong. Application is free. So you can even make attempts to see what your document will get you in, whether your document will get you in. So now, you see, some programs will ask you program-specific requirements. So you can, if I click on it, I think you went to a different website. So yeah, but basically, what are we trying to say? These things are just Google search away. So let's go back to our PowerPoint. Okay. Where's the PowerPoint? Okay. Okay. So now you get to the university, you find out the programs you're interested in using that list I gave you, and to check if you are qualified. The next thing you have to check is you plan your budget. Now, what do I mean by plan your budget? One good thing about schools in Taiwan is this. If you apply, some of them will tell you, once you're applying, you will also be considered for the scholarship. But some of them might ask you to apply for a scholarship separately. So, but most of them will consider you automatically for a type of scholarship. They call it type A, type B, type C. Type A is for PhD people, type B is for masters, type C is for everybody. Type A is for PhD, you get stipend and you get school fees, your tuition covered. Type B, masters, you get stipend and you get your tuition covered. Type C, you get your tuition covered and you have to take care of your stipend. The good thing about Taiwan is that you can work and you can school. Once you get your alien resident permit, you can get job and you can school at the same time. Sometimes also, the professor that you might get to work in the lab might offer you money, and there will be no need for you to do what? For you to work. When I was in Taiwan, despite being on the Taiwan government scholarship, what happened? I was also offered some stipend from the lab. So now, the good thing about Taiwan is this. If you are applying, like now, if all of you that are getting ready for fall next year, when they open portal, you apply. Next year, around February or March, the Taiwan government will open up their application, and these things are not done online. You have to submit your form in person in Lagos. We are lucky as Nigerians that we even have the office in Nigeria. Because if you are from Ghana, if you're from Cameroon, if you're from Sierra Leone, if you're applying, you must come to Nigeria. So we are lucky it is in Nigeria. So there are several scholarships you can apply to. You can apply to Taiwan government scholarship. Now, this Hawaii enrichment is for those who want to learn the language program for 1 year. So that means that what you'll be applying for is the language program in the schools you're looking for. So once you get the admission, you get a language program scholarship for 1 year. And the good thing is when you're done, you can still continue staying in Taiwan. So if you want to do a master's, you go start doing master's. If you're done with a master's, you want to do PhD, you continue. Nobody is chasing you away. The most important thing is that you have to have something valid that is keeping you in Taiwan. Another thing again I want to bring to you guys is these are the various Taiwan government scholarships. Some of them you might not be qualified. We are not qualified for MOFA because we do not have a good relationship with Taiwan as Nigerian because we are more affiliated to mainland China. I won't say anything much. It's political. So there are private sector scholarships like Academia Scholarship, Taiwan International Graduate Program. Here in what it means is that, you just have to, I'll share the link to where I have some of these files, sorry. So I think later on I'll share the link to these files so that you can be able to have access. So I want to use Taiwan government scholarship as an instance. So I'm going to share with you guys the okay. Can you see this? Can you guys see can you see?
Yes, we can.
Okay. Now, this is the Taiwan Scholarship and Hawaii Enrichment Program website. If you go to this place, you see a lot of things. You'll see welcome party, you see experience sharing. Like for instance, if you come to this place, definitely you would it's okay, it says under maintenance. So definitely I believe you'll see